Veterans of Foreign Wars looks upon all these honored men and women as comrades within our organization who have served under the flag of the United States, overseas, and in many wars to preserve American freedom. The honor we symbolize here expresses the appreciation of all veterans of foreign wars. The United States will always honor those who go forth in defense of our nation. And now we should do the unveiling.
You always say today, John. Because one thing that all these men and women that have served our country, besides their common faith as Jewish veterans, was this flag. This flag doesn't care what religion you are, what color, what ethnicity. You answered her call in a time of need, and they're grateful. We won't forget. Thank you.
Gather here to honor their lives, in some cases their memories, those who gave of themselves so that we can enjoy the fruits of their work that we so often take for granted. There are many stories and documents of remarkable courage, valor, commitment. Many of us here know these stories. Some of us have lived them. Those stories begin with the founding of our country. They span nearly 3 centuries. But I want to share something more recent from World War II. There was a group of Marines who served 76 years ago on a small Pacific island named Iwo Jima. Like us today, they were commemorating a Jewish marker, a Jewish cemetery. A rabbi from Boston, Roland Gittleson, Olam Shalom, was called upon to dedicate the 5th Marine Division Cemetery on the island. I want to cite some of the words that Rabbi Gittleson spoke on that day. He said, "To speak in memory of such men as these is not easy. Of them it can be said the utter truth. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here. It can never forget what they did here. No, our poor power of speech can add nothing to what these men and the other dead of our division who are not here have already done. All that we can even hope to do is follow their example, to show the same selfless courage and peace as they did in war, to swear that by the grace of God and the stubborn strength and power of the human will, their sons and daughters and ours shall never suffer these pains again. These men have done their jobs well. They have paid the ghastly price of freedom. If that freedom be once again lost, as it was after the last war, the unforgivable blame will be ours, not theirs. So it is we, the living, who are here to be dedicated and consecrated." Unquote. Those words are as true now as they were then. We in the Jewish community are honored that the town of Hull has erected this memorial here. Our Torah acknowledges the inevitability of war and even sets forth the right and moral way to prosecute a war. For example, We are enjoined from destroying fruit trees, even if doing so hampers our strategy. The wisdom is that conflict will eventually end, and we need to preserve the sanctity of nature, which includes fruit-bearing trees. This instruction reveals a lot about the divine outlook on war, an outlook that envisions peace, even as it permits war. There are two kinds of war described in the Torah. There is milchemet reshut, a war of discretion, and milchemet mitzvah, a war of obligation. So having seen the price of war, we must be sure that when we join in conflict, only when it is obligatory, it must be a mitzvah, an obligation to do so. May we strive never to shed blood unless justice is on our side. Rabbi Gitelson's words ring as true today as they did on that lonely island 76 years ago, 2 generations. Let us resolve to dedicate ourselves to our hard-won liberty entrusted to us. Let us not forsake those who laid so costly a sacrifice upon the altar of freedom. I close with a memorial prayer for those who have fallen in service to America. Exalted, compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the souls of those who have given their lives in military service. Let them find refuge in the shadow of your wings. May their souls be bound up in the bond of eternal life. The Lord is their portion. May they rest in peace. And let us say Amen.
Amen.
These words in Hebrew. El male rachamim meshochen b'meromim Hamse menucha nechona tachat ganfei hashechina b'malot kedoshim utorim כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים את נשמות כל החיילים שלנו מזכירים היום שהלכו לעולמם בגן עדן תהא מנוחתם אנו בעל הרחמים הסברים בסתר כנפיך לעולמים וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמותיהם אדוני הוא נחלתם ינוחו בשלום על משפטם ונאמר
Let us then read the names of all Hull's Jewish war veterans. Dennis Albert, Mitchell J. Albert, Richard Albert, Richard B. Albert, Irving H. Andler, Sidney Sid Anton, Arthur Applestein, Edward Applestein, Leo Applestein, Sam Applestein, Terry Applestein, Ricky Arnold, Howard Bart, Bernard Becker, Michael Beckerman, James Bennett, Anna Berman, Harold Berman, James Berman, Joe Berman, Richard Berman, Gus Blaustein, Kenneth Block, Leo Brent, Kenneth Brown, Stephen Brown, Harold Kadish, Jason Kadoff, Mark Kadoff, Chester Cattler, Alan F. Cohen, Ed Cohen, Lawrence Cohen, Richard Cohen, Saul Cohen, Herbert Cohn, Daniel Coleman, Leonard Colton, Robert Cohn, Milton Cooper, Edward Cutler, Fred Cutler, Philip Cutliff, Stanley Cutliff, Arnold E. Dahm, Seymour Dolliner, Harvey F. Doran, Alan Drucker, Mark Dunay, Saul Ritchie Elfman, Alex Eagleston, Carl Epstein, Phil Fine, Sarah Fine, Melvin Fish, Michael Fish, Morris C. Fisher, Meyer Fishman, Milton Fishman, Sidney Francer, David Franklin, Alan S. Freeman, Jeffrey Gertzel, Mark Gertzel, Samuel Gertzel, Gerald Geitel, Oscar Goldberg, Ray Goldberg, Sumner Goldberg, Jason Goldman, Morris Goldman, Morris Moe Goldman, Barry Goldstein, Joel Goldstein, Reuben Goldstein, Isaac Goodman, Myron Golub, William Greenberg, Edward Jacob Hirschman, Samuel Saul Hirschman, Paul Eisenberg, Bruce Jacobs, Jack Kagan, Mark Kagan, Leonard Kahn, Joshua Cannett, Bruce Kaplan, Daniel Kaplan, Isidore Kaplan, Elliot Katz, Morris E. Katziff, Paul Kaufman, Meyer Kendall, Lawrence Kellum, Bert Clapman, Myron Clayman, Herbert Kosh, Howard Gravitz, Eugene Lakin, Paul Landsberg, Bernard Lemack, Marvin Levinson, Holly Cohen Levinson, Robert Levine, Eugene F. Lewis, Harvey Lieberman, Donald Lightman, Frederick B. Lightman, Joseph Magier, Nathan Mandel, Jeffrey Mann, Albert Minovitz, George Myers, Richard Nailhouse, Shep Norman, Morris Moe Parker, Saul Payne, Harold Perry, Bernard Pocat, Helen Bolton Reese, Ricky Richards, Charles Rosen, Jacob Rosenberg, Lou Ross, Andrew Scott Rubin, Samuel Rubin, Leonard Rodkin, Daniel Ruskansky, Robert Ruskansky, Howard Samuelson, Barry Schneider, Joe Safer, Matthew Safer, Richard Safer, Leon Lou Shapiro, Maxwell Sherman, Mort Sherman, William Schuman, Frank Sidman, Erwin Sidman, Frederick B. Sagan, Dorothy Slanger, Harvey Slobodkin, Sid Spill, I. Arthur Smith, Jacob W. Smith, Rose Z. Smith, Andrew J. Stern, Gary Stern, Henry H. Stern, Jacob Stillman, Stephen Stillman, Saul Stoloff, Robert Schwartz, Errol Tabaski, Martin Tabaski, Edward Taylorbaum, Fred Taubman, Harvey Taubman, Saul Taubman, Stuart Turgle, Martin Wall, Charles Weiner, Dr. David Weissman, Arnold White, Robert White, Bernard Winston, Chester L. Wolfe, Gladys A. Wolfe, David Yanoff, Steven Zimmerman, Sumner Zorfas, Richard Lasoff, Edward Gilman, Peter Azar, Jay Savage, Louis Gaynor, William Foreman, Joseph Castle, Martin Brody, Randy Jill Smith, Sarah Bassanor, Samuel Simons, Sam Eisenman, Ellie Poland, Michael Minsky, Irving Uchenick, Maury Silva, Herbert Stone. And with that, I believe we've concluded today's ceremony, and I thank you all for coming.